So as we start this chapter right here, we are moving on to invertebrate evolution. So we're going to really talk about the taxonomic differences among different phyla of animals before we move into something else. So we'll start with invertebrates before vertebrates. We'll go through the different phyla. We'll talk about some overarching trends that we see within this phylum. And so we're looking at the evolutionary trends. So the first thing we're going to talk about is symmetry. So there are two types of body symmetry. We have a radial symmetry, is divided equally along a longitudinal plane. Usually are sessile, free-floating, and are weak swimmers. They have no defined ends. And then we have bilateral symmetry, can be divided along a vertical plane, two mirrored portions, a right and a left half, usually associated with cephalization, meaning a head region. And when we talk about this, we have different regions. We have the anterior, which would be the head region, the posterior, which would be the tail region, or feet in our case. Dorsal is the backside, like the dorsal fin of a shark, and the ventral is the front side, or the belly side of the animal. And then we got to talk about the gut, the type of things we're going to see in these. So the gut is the region where food is digested and then absorbed. A sac-like gut has one opening for taking in food and expelling waste, whereas a complete digestive system, tube within a tube, has an opening at both ends. So a sac-like has only one end, and then a complete tube within a tube has an opening at both ends, the mouth and the anus. So when we look at this, types of body cavities, we have acoelomate. And what an acoelomate is a gut body cavity only. Okay? So there's no other cavity. All right? In this example, we see the image of the gut cavity in the epidermis. Then in this one right here, a pseudocoelomate, it is not lined. So you have two body cavities, a pseudocoelom and a gut cavity. So the pseudocoelom is a fluid-filled area, all right? And what it is it's a false body cavity, all right? So it's unlined. So we see in this image right here, we have the gut cavity, and then the unlined body cavity around it. So you see that light bluish area is the pseudocoelom. So it's a false body cavity because it's not lined properly. Now, a coelomate is the body cavity is lined with mesoderm. So a true coelom, a fluid-filled body cavities that are completely lined with a mesoderm, called coelomates because they have two true body cavities, called true body cavities because they are fully lined with a mesoderm. So that's what you have, two body cavities that are both lined with mesoderm. And that's what the difference is between a coelomate and a pseudocoelomate. So we see right here, segmentation is repeating units of body units. So earthworms, the segments appear similar. Insects, segments may be fused and have specialized functions. Okay, so we have these two different types of repeating series of body units. So we'll see that in insects, we'll see that in earthworms, where it just repeats over and over and has very similar ideas. Okay, so sponges, phylum Porifera, they have no symmetry, no tissues, no organs, reproduce sexually, and microscopic swimming larval stage. So if we look at this picture right here, we see water comes into a central cavity, water comes in, water goes out. All right. So really, sponges are filter feeding. They're very, very simple organisms. There is not much to them. Now, if we look at the next one we're going to talk about, phylum Cnidarian, right? They're the only animals that produce nematocytes. Nematocytes are going to be stinging cells. Okay, they're cells unique to Cnidaria, make them effective predators. They are used for prey capture and defense. They are near the epidermal cells. They produce many types of venomous organelles. Okay, so these nematocytes are used to attack and capture prey. They have a nerve net, they have a hydrostatic skeleton, and they have a sac-like gut. So we see the Cnidarian diversity. We have jellyfish, sea anemones, corals, and hydrozoans. Okay, so we have right here the two main body plans. So a polyp is a sessile form. It will be attached to something in order to move. Very tubular body shape. Mouth is directed upward and surrounded by tentacles. Mouth leads to a gastrovascular cavity where digestion occurs. It has an incomplete gut. Mouth used for entrance and exit. And then we have the medusa, is free swimming. It's bell or umbrella shaped, and the mouth is directed downward, leading to a gastrovascular cavity, and they reproduce sexually. So the medusa, in their reproductive cycle, what you're going to have is the medusa releases the egg or sperm to fertilize a zygote, which forms a motile plantar larva, which settles and metamorphosizes into a polyp, which asexually produces more polyps and grows into a medusa. Okay, so we see that right here. We have different types. So we see that there's a bunch of different things here. We have jellyfish that are going to be cnidarians. Portuguese man-o'-war. You're going to have the sea anemones, and corals are also going to be examples of cnidarians. And so next you have the phylum Platyhelminthe, right, which we're going to start off on the next one as well. Platyhelminthes are acoelomate, right? Bilateral, cephalized, meaning they have a simple brain. All have simple organ systems, and most are hermaphrodites. So we'll pick back up on Platyhelminthes at the beginning of the next presentation.